Well, I thought that it was not in the best interest of the telephone users and the citizens of Dallas. I felt that I had a series of motions that would have changed the recommendation of our acting director, uh, placing the burden of the new increase on the miscellaneous services provided by the telephone company. I would not have reduced the amount of total revenue that's been recommended by the staff, that being $5.5 million. But I would have shifted the burden of responsibility to those people who use the miscellaneous equipment and miscellaneous services.
Because I thought the distribution was absolutely wrong. It placed the burden of this tax hike on persons least able to bear it. The two-party users, the one-party user, the small businessman. It's just wrong, and it's not a responsible act of government when you throw the major burden on people who are not only on fixed incomes, who are not only on the smallest incomes, many of them on Social Security and pensions, but many of them are unemployed, and more becoming unemployed every day. Now, they could have easily shifted the burden of this tax hike to areas that could stand it. But as you see, we got nowhere with it.
I think it's very important in a time of inflation and a time of unprecedented bankruptcies for the small businessman and also for the consumer, that is, the small homeowner, that we in any kind of legislative body, such as a city council, do our utmost to keep inflation down and to decrease rather than increase the financial problems of both homes and businesses. And I thought this was the important consideration. In addition to that, as I've said before, as I said last week, I felt the distribution was unfair and that the overall increase was far too much.
I voted for the Taylor report because complaints that I had or received were service, and I feel that the reason we weren't getting the service is because the revenue wasn't there for the telephone company. I expect the telephone company to give better service now that we have voted this raise.
You found you didn't disagree with the distribution angle then?
No, because that could be adjusted, as I understand, from time to time to the council.
You don't think this places too much of a burden on the basic user?
I don't believe so.
I voted for the adoption to vote for the report because I strongly feel that Dallas is one of the major communication systems in the United States, and it is the leading undisputed center for transportation, insurance, business, banking, and I believe that communications is a very vital force in this area of growth. And for that reason, I believe that we should go, and I think that it's a very reasonable and a very equitable request. Very much so, yes.
I voted for the motion because of my concern with the quality of the service here in Dallas. When you begin to compare Dallas with New York and Chicago and some of the other areas where it's easier to walk across the street than it is to use a telephone, and our staff tells us that it is vital to the expansion of the system here in Dallas that we give them an increase, the first increase in 18 years. I thought it was reasonable.
What about the distribution?
I thought that what the city manager's staff had recommended was within the guidelines.
Because I had studied the report since it was first submitted and compared it with other available information, and even as late as 10:30 this morning, I had some final questions answered by the city manager and also Mr. Taylor, and I'm satisfied that it is justified.
Distribution is fair.
I think so, yes.
You don't think it places more of a burden on the basic user than it should?
Well, no, I don't, because that's where the substantial part of the telephone company's investment is in those services. In addition to that, the special services have been subsidizing the ordinary, you might say, services all along. And I don't think they should take on more of the burden.
I think I voted not necessarily just for the Taylor report, but I do feel that the telephone company justly does have a right to ask for an increase in rates in the city of Dallas. I think that the Taylor report and the Knoll report were so close together that I would have voted for either one of them had Mr. Knoll still been here and presented his. I'm sorry that there has been some expressions of lack of confidence in the staff that we have. I think that it's a good staff, and if we didn't feel it was, then we should dispose of it. And on the other hand, I think if we have this staff and we have confidence, then we should use it. I think that there's no way that we can be experts on all things, but then certainly we can have experts around us, and I think that we have.
You feel the distribution or breakdown was fair and just?
Yes, I do. The rate of increase actually was not a great deal. Of course, to some people it would mean a lot more than others. And I don't mean to belittle this when I say it isn't a great deal. But they have to have so much money to operate on. And the accessories that you spoke of, these are going to be used anyway. I can't imagine you, John, regardless of what kind of financial condition that you got yourself in, that in 5 years from today that you wouldn't be using a punch telephone or touch telephone instead of the old type. How many of the old ring type do you see today and all? And yet these additional phones cost, and they have to make up the amount of money. So I think it was just a case of hiding it. I think it was a case of a lot of people making a lot of talk about it, actually about nothing.
After several weeks of study of the data that was presented to us, I think the rate increase, even though not popular, was justified.
You think the distribution is fair?
Based on the use that on the people that use the services, yes, sir, I do.
I have I've read the report and considered it fair and equitable. I think that it was feasible, and I believe that the report was outstanding. I could not see anything wrong with it that would do anything but good.
What about the distribution, the breakdown of the increases? Was it fair in your mind?
I thought the distribution was all right, and I think that most people will see it this way. Take a look at it. For the past 18 years, they haven't had a tax raise. They were entitled to it to give a better service, and this is what people want. I've had a lot of complaints about service of the telephone people, and I think by this increase or this rate adjustment will give us some benefit to telephone service. After all, we have a large city. We're the 8th largest city in the world. And one thing we need is good communications. And I believe that we will get it with this rate adjustment.